If you are watching this, it is likely because you are exhausted. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, but a deep, bone-weary fatigue that comes from constantly trying to explain yourself to someone who refuses to listen. You feel like you are walking on eggshells in your own life, carefully curating your words and actions to avoid setting off an explosion that you never saw coming. You might be questioning your sanity, wondering if you are too sensitive, too demanding, or simply not enough. You replay conversations in your head, searching for the moment things went wrong, trying to find the logic in the chaos. But there is no logic. There is only a cycle of confusion, hurt, and temporary relief that keeps you trapped. I want you to take a deep breath right now. I want you to know that the confusion you feel is not a sign of your weakness. It is a designed outcome. The situation you are in involves a profound imbalance of power and emotional manipulation. You were not the problem. You were the target. And understanding that distinction is the first step toward reclaiming your life. When we talk about dealing with a narcissistic woman effectively, we are not talking about winning an argument. We are not talking about changing her mind or making her see your point of view. Those are goals that lead to frustration and defeat. Instead, we are talking about something far more powerful and far more difficult: setting boundaries that protect your peace. To do this, we must first understand the psychological engine driving her behavior. At the core of narcissism is a fragile sense of self that cannot tolerate criticism, independence, or any reality that contradicts her internal narrative. For a narcissistic woman, control is not just a preference, it is a survival mechanism. She needs to manage how you perceive her, how you react to her, and ultimately, who you are in relation to her. When you set a boundary, you are asserting your separate existence. You are saying, "I am here, and I have limits." To a person who views others as extensions of themselves, this feels like a threat. It triggers what psychologists call narcissistic injury. Her reaction to your boundary will rarely be respect. It will often be rage, silence, pity plays, or a sudden shift in personality designed to make you doubt your decision. This is not because your boundary was wrong. It is because your boundary worked. It disrupted her control. Let's break down exactly how this dynamic plays out, so you can recognize it in real time. The first phase is usually the testing of waters. Before a major boundary is ever established, there are small infractions. She might make subtle digs at your appearance, your career, or your friends. She might dismiss your feelings with phrases like, "You're too sensitive," or "I was just joking." These are not accidents. They are probes. She is checking to see how much she can take from you before you push back. If you laugh it off, if you apologize for being upset, or if you try to justify your feelings, you teach her that your boundaries are flexible. You teach her that your comfort is less important than her convenience. This creates a pattern where you begin to suppress your own needs to keep the peace. You start to believe that if you just try harder, if you just communicate better, she will treat you with kindness. But kindness is not the goal for a narcissist. Compliance is. The second phase is the reaction to the boundary itself. Let's say you finally decide to stop answering calls after 10 at night, or you decide not to engage when she brings up a past grievance to guilt-trip you. You state your limit clearly and calmly. In a healthy relationship, the other person might be disappointed, but they will respect your need for rest or emotional space. In a relationship with a narcissistic woman, the response is often disproportionate. She may accuse you of abandoning her. She may claim you are being cruel or cold. She might suddenly become the victim, telling everyone who will listen about how hurt she is by your rejection. This is a tactic known as DARVO: deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. By flipping the script, she forces you into the position of defending yourself. Instead of holding your boundary, you are now apologizing for hurting her feelings. The boundary dissolves and the cycle continues. You end up feeling guilty for having a basic human need, and she retains full control over the interaction. Understanding why this happens is crucial for your healing. It is not personal. It is structural. Her behavior is driven by a deep-seated fear of irrelevance and a lack of empathy. Empathy requires the ability to see another person as separate from oneself, with their own valid experiences. A narcissist lacks this capacity. To her, you are a source of supply, attention, validation, service, or emotional reaction. When you set a boundary, you're cutting off that supply. Her anger is not about you. It is about the loss of control. Her sadness is not about missing you. It is about losing a resource. Recognizing this depersonalizes the attack. It allows you to step back and observe the behavior rather than absorbing the emotion. You begin to see the puppet strings. You realize that her outrage is a performance designed to pull you back into line. So, how do you set boundaries like a pro? How do you break this cycle without escalating the conflict or losing yourself? The answer lies in consistency, brevity, and detachment. Most people fail at boundaries because they over-explain. They think if they just provide enough context, the other person will understand. They write long texts, have hour-long conversations, and lay out their entire emotional history to justify their limit. This is a mistake. Over-explaining gives the narcissist material to argue with. Every reason you give is a hook she can use to dismantle your stance. If you say, "I can't come over because I'm tired," she will argue that you aren't really tired, or that she'll make you coffee, or that you don't care about her. If you say, "I'm not discussing this topic anymore," she will ask why, or claim you're hiding something. The more you explain, the more you invite debate. And you cannot debate someone who is not interested in truth, only in victory. Setting a boundary like a pro means stating your limit once, clearly and calmly, without justification. You say, "I am not available to talk after 9 p.m. You do not add, "because I have work tomorrow," or "because I need sleep." You simply state the fact. If she pushes back, you do not engage in the argument. You repeat the boundary, or you disengage entirely. This is known as the broken record technique. You remain calm. You do not raise your voice. You do not show anger. You show indifference to her reaction. This is incredibly difficult because we are conditioned to be polite, to smooth things over, to ensure the other person is comfortable. But with a narcissist, politeness is interpreted as weakness. Calm detachment is interpreted as strength. When you refuse to participate in the drama, you remove the fuel. The fire cannot burn without oxygen. This shift requires a massive internal change. You must let go of the desire to be understood by her. This is perhaps the hardest part of the process. We crave validation from those we love. We want them to see our pain, to acknowledge our effort. But a narcissistic woman is incapable of giving you that validation in a consistent, genuine way. Seeking it is like going to a hardware store for milk. You will leave empty-handed and frustrated every single time. Accepting this reality is painful, but it is also liberating. Once you stop expecting her to change, you stop being disappointed by her refusal to change. You begin to act based on your own values, not on her reactions. You set boundaries because they are right for you, not because you hope they will teach her a lesson. They won't, but they will protect you. As you begin to implement these boundaries, expect an extinction burst. This is a psychological term for the phenomenon where a behavior gets worse before it stops. When she realizes her usual tactics, guilt, rage, silence, are no longer working, she may escalate. She may become more aggressive, more dramatic, or more desperate. She might threaten to leave, or threaten to harm herself, or spread rumors about you. This is a critical moment. Many people cave here, thinking, maybe I went too far. But this escalation is proof that the boundary is necessary. It is proof that her previous control was maintained through your compliance. If you hold firm during the extinction burst, the behavior will eventually subside. She will learn that these tactics no longer yield results. She may not like you, but she will respect the boundary because she has no choice. She will either accept the new terms of engagement, or she will move on to find someone else who is easier to control. Either outcome is a victory for you. It is important to address the specific nuances of dealing with a narcissistic woman, as gender dynamics can sometimes complicate the perception of abuse. Society often expects women to be nurturing, accommodating, and emotionally available. When a woman violates these norms, it can be confusing for partners who are socialized to be protective or chivalrous. You might feel like you are being mean to a woman who is just emotional. You might worry that others will see you as the aggressor if you stand firm. This is a trap. Abuse is not defined by gender. It is defined by patterns of control and manipulation. Do not let societal stereotypes invalidate your experience. Your pain is real. Your need for safety is real. Setting a boundary is not an act of aggression. It is an act of self-preservation. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, regardless of their gender. Another key aspect of effective boundary setting is managing your own emotional response. Narcissists are experts at pushing buttons. They know exactly what to say to trigger your insecurity, your anger, or your guilt. When you feel that surge of emotion, pause. Do not react in the heat of the moment. Take a step back. Ask yourself, what is happening here? Is this a genuine issue, or is this a manipulation? Often, simply naming the dynamic reduces its power. If she is gaslighting you, remind yourself, this is gaslighting. I know what happened. If she is playing the victim, remind yourself, this is a pity play. I am not responsible for her emotions. This internal dialogue creates a buffer between her stimulus and your response. It allows you to choose your action rather than reacting impulsively. Over time, this practice builds emotional resilience. You become less reactive. You become grounded. You become unshakable. Boundaries also extend to your digital life. In today's world, access is constant. A narcissistic partner may demand immediate responses to texts, monitor your social media, or use technology to track your movements. Setting digital boundaries is essential. You have the right to privacy. You have the right to disconnect. You do not owe her instant access to your thoughts or your location. If she demands to know where you are or who you are with, you can choose not to answer. You can say, I will share that information when I am ready, or simply ignore the demand. This may cause panic or rage on her part, but it reinforces your autonomy. Your life belongs to you. Your attention is yours to give, not hers to take. As you progress on this journey, you will notice a shift in your own identity. For a long time, you may have defined yourself in relation to her. You were the caretaker, the peacemaker, the one who held it all together. As you step back, you may feel a void. You may feel lonely. This is normal. You are withdrawing from an addiction to the cycle of abuse. The highs and lows of the relationship created a chemical dependency in your brain. Breaking free feels like withdrawal. Be patient with yourself. Fill that void with healthy connections. Reconnect with friends and family who respect you. Engage in hobbies that bring you joy. Rediscover who you are outside of the relationship. This process of individuation is the true goal of setting boundaries. It is not just about keeping her out. It is about letting yourself in. There will be moments of doubt. You will remember the good times. You will wonder if you are being too harsh. You will miss the intimacy, even if it was fake. During these moments, return to the facts. Write them down if you have to. Remember the times you felt small. Remember the times you were ignored. Remember the exhaustion. Reality is your anchor. Do not let nostalgia rewrite history. The person you are mourning is not the person who exists. The person who exists is someone who disregards your boundaries and manipulates your emotions. Grieve the potential of what could have been, but do not sacrifice your present for a fantasy. Ultimately, dealing with a narcissistic woman effectively is not about mastering a set of tricks. It is about mastering yourself. It is about deciding that your peace is non-negotiable. It is about accepting that you cannot control her, but you can control your exposure to her. You can control your reactions. You can control your access. You can control your life. This is a path of quiet strength. It does not require shouting matches or dramatic exits. It requires the steady, daily practice of choosing yourself. It requires the courage to be misunderstood by her so that you can be understood by yourself. As you move forward, remember that healing is not linear. There will be good days and bad days. There will be moments of clarity and moments of fog. But each time you hold a boundary, you build muscle. Each time you refuse to engage in drama, you reclaim energy. Each time you prioritize your well-being, you send a message to your subconscious that you are worth protecting. You are rewriting the narrative of your life. You are moving from a role of victimhood to a role of agency. This is not selfish. It is necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot love others well if you do not respect yourself first. The fog will lift. The confusion will fade. One day, you will wake up and realize that her opinion no longer dictates your mood. You will realize that her anger no longer scares you. You will realize that you are free. Not because she changed, but because you did. You learned that you are safe within your own boundaries. You learned that you are enough, exactly as you are, without her validation. This is the truth that was hidden from you. This is the reality that awaits you on the other side of fear. Keep going. Keep holding the line. Keep choosing peace. You are doing the hard work, and it is worth it. Your life is waiting for you, clear, calm, and entirely your own.